So dumb. Recently, I began replaying the fantastic game series Prince of Persia. Unfortunately, despite my love of the series, I do have a few complaints. Don't get me wrong, Prince of Persia definitely sets the bar for two-dimensional platformers and three-dimensional platformers alike, but it does have a couple of discrepancies in this critic's eyes. I think the best way to tackle this video is to just lay it out in number format. Let's begin. Number 1! Consistency! This might be a personal complaint, but what the hell happened to the atmosphere of the series between Sands of Time and Warrior Within? It's like the series hit puberty and got all mopey. Between the prince's voice actor being changed and the general weight of the game being altered, I barely had enough time to be uncomfortable with how dirty Warrior Within looked compared to its pretty predecessor. Number 2! Okay, so this is less of a direct complaint about the games and more of a personal issue of mine. So take it or leave it. If you're that disgusted by what I'm about to say, good. It makes me happy that I can affect you on such a deep person. Number 2! Combat! Okay, let me clarify. Combat in Prince of Persia is not only pretty, but well thought out, balanced, and even fun. But I always find myself dreading a portion of the game that includes combat because the reason I play Prince of Persia is for the platforming. No matter how much shit is talked about the 2008 Prince of Persia remake, you know, that one voice actor from that one game, the one with the one story thing. You know, the one with the witty main character and a bunch of action sequences. Anyway, no matter how much shit is talked about how the combat was too easy and the deaths have no real ramifications, the game captured me with something else. The platforming. It went out of its way to be as non-linear as possible, which kind of made combat unnecessary because logical progression was impossible. I loved that about this game. Screw the combat. The thing that pulls me into a POP game, that's an acronym for Prince of Persia for those of you who aren't hip with the whole common sense thing, is the platforming. I don't know, there's just something magical about leaping gracefully through areas without having to slow down because you've learned to read the environment that well. Of course, POP games have always managed your platforming growth extremely well, either by introducing a new element to an area that required more thought and patience, or in the case of POP 2008 Remake, just by giving Elika a new superpower that was specific to that area. All elements which made the game shine like the 1001 light seeds that you needed to collect in order to beat the game at 100%. Number 3. Enemies! Okay, so I know this is a bit of a stretch and could probably have been covered in combat, but I don't give a shit. What exactly do you think I am, some kind of professional with integrity? Okay, anyway, enemies. Enemies are cool to look at for the most part in POP games, but that's about it. You see, in POP games, the enemies can usually only be killed in a distinct way. For instance, for your typical sand-snorting time junkie, all you may need to do is perform a flying somersault over their head, smack them once in the b-hole, and then absorb their essence, or chop off their head, or send them flying off the combat arena. The point is, once you figure out how to beat an enemy with that particular palette, you can literally just do that for every instance they appear in the game. So what's the point other than to add gameplay? It seems unnecessary and frankly, it's boring. I mean, could you imagine if in Batman fails at Free Roaming City, Origins, you didn't get a unique and engaging battle every time you decided to pop the head off of one of Two-Face's thick-headed buffoons? You would throw the controller down faster than Oracle on her way to a Free Robotic Legs convention. A bit of diversity would be nice is all I'm saying. Finally, let's talk about what makes a platformer truly great, in my opinion. A platformer is the most fun when a player can become absorbed in the fluidity of their movements. The feeling of true and well-managed control over a character whose physics feel good. That feeling when you can turn your brain off completely and just let instinct take over. Kind of like hitting a bunch of hammer-ons in Guitar Hero. That feeling that if you try to think about what you're doing, you can't do it anymore all of a sudden. Players want to be reasonably fast. I say reasonably because Sonic the Hedgehog kind of bites the bullet on that one. In both his 3D and 2D titles. But I'll get into that on another video. It's certainly a hard feeling to describe, but I think you guys can see what I'm trying to say. It's the same feeling that keeps us playing Spider-Man 2 for months after we beat the story just because we love the web-slinging that much. It's what leads us to do speedruns of games like Mario Brothers or Rayman. We want smooth, comfortable gameplay with a character that has a well-balanced weight on top of a pretty rewarding skill curve. Is that too much to ask?